The world is home to almost 8 billion people as of 2022. Of these, about 1.9 billion are Muslim and are found all across the globe. Islam began as a religion in the 7th century, which makes it relatively new when compared to other major religions. But in that relatively short period of time, it has spread throughout the world and become the majority religion in 49 countries. In this video, we're going to focus on the 10 countries with the largest Muslim populations. Their ranking is based on the Muslim population of the country, not the total population. Number 10. Algeria, with 43.3 million Muslims. Around 98% of Algeria's approximately 44.2 million people are Muslim, mainly Sunni Muslim. The spread of Islam throughout Algeria took place between 670 AD and 711 AD, as the Umayyad dynasty gradually conquered the area. The native Amazigh population was rapidly converted to Islam, while pockets of Christian communities and those practicing traditional Amazigh religion existed in significant numbers until around the 11th century. Number 9. Sudan, with 46.5 million Muslims. Sudan is a country in northeast Africa, to the south of Egypt. It has a population of close to 48 million people as of 2022, 97% of which is Muslim. Before the dominance of Islam, the Nubian kingdoms in what are now Sudan were largely Coptic Christian, just like Egypt to the north. Islam arrived in the 7th century through contact between Arab traders and Nubians, but the population remained largely Christian until the kingdoms declined, and in the year 1504, the area was taken over by the Muslim Funj Sultanate. Now, fast forward to more recent times. Under the rule of Omar al-Bashir from 1989 to 2019, the law of Sudan was based on Sharia law. In 2020, however, Sudan became a secular state, ending 30 years of Islamic rule and Islam as the official state religion. Number 8. Turkey, with 82.9 million Muslims. Turkey is located at the crossroads of largely Christian Europe and the largely Muslim Middle East. Some parts of eastern Turkey came under Muslim rule during the Arab conquest in the 7th century, but the Byzantine Empire mostly repelled their invasion. Most of Anatolia remained Christian until it was conquered by the Turkic Seljuk Empire from Central Asia in the 11th century. Muslim Turks migrated to the area and most Christians converted to Islam. The remaining Byzantine-controlled areas, including Constantinople, were taken by the 15th century by the Ottoman Empire, and all of Turkey became Muslim-ruled. During the First World War, and during the creation of the modern state of Turkey after the war, there were large-scale forced migrations, meaning that Christians largely became refugees in neighboring countries, and Muslims from neighboring countries became refugees in Turkey. So Turkey became overwhelmingly Muslim. Now, Muslims are said to make up 99.8% of the total population. That's according to the CIA World Factbook, which reflects the Turkish government's official statistics. The majority of them are Sunni, but there's a significant Shia minority, especially the Alevi branch of Shia Islam. Note that other surveys have varying numbers of Muslims, as low as 82% of the population, because some people identified themselves as having no religion, or being agnostic or atheist, and some people declined to answer, and so on. So at the lower end, Turkey would have about 68 million Muslims, which would still leave it at number 8. Number 7. Iran, with 86.4 million Muslims. Iran is a land of ancient civilizations, with a recorded history stretching back thousands of years. The pre-Islamic religion of Iran was a monotheistic religion called Zoroastrianism. Islam came to Iran in the 7th century when the Rashidun Caliphate conquered the land, and the majority of people converted to Islam in the following centuries. It was mainly Sunni Muslim until the rule of the Safavid dynasty in the 16th century, which converted the population to Shia Islam. Today, Iran has a population of around 86.76 million people, 99.6% of which are thought to be Muslim. And of these, around 90 to 95% are Shia. But I should point out that these are the government's official statistics on religion. In the comment section under my country profile on Iran, numerous Iranians have commented that the population is not nearly as religious as the government statistics would indicate. According to them, there are significant numbers of non-practicing Muslims, agnostics, atheists, and people who have changed their religion, but can't say this openly on government surveys. I can't verify these comments personally, but they're worth pointing out. Number 6. Egypt, with around 97 million Muslims. Egypt is another land of ancient civilizations stretching back many thousands of years. Ancient Egyptian religion was polytheistic and involved the worship of numerous gods. Christianity arrived in the 1st century AD, and Coptic Christianity spread throughout the country by the 3rd century AD. The Islamic conquest of Egypt took place from 639 to 646 AD during the Rashidun Caliphate, the first caliphate after the Prophet Muhammad. Many Egyptians remained Coptic Christians, but most of the population gradually became Muslim over the following centuries. But a significant Coptic minority still exists today. Egypt's population is estimated at close to 108 million, making it the 15th most populous country in the world, according to the population estimates in the CIA World Factbook. The percentage of Muslims depends on the source, but according to the source I just mentioned, 90% of the population is Muslim, the vast majority of them being Sunni Muslim. Almost all of the remaining 10% are Christian, mainly Coptic Christian. The Constitution of Egypt states that Islam is the official state religion and that Sharia law is the source of Egypt's legislation. But normally, Sharia law is directly applied only to family law, and application of family law is to be based on an individual's religion, the recognized religions being the three heavenly religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Number 5. Nigeria, with around 120.4 million Muslims. The Federal Republic of Nigeria in West Africa is the most populous country in Africa, with its population numbering an estimated 225 million people. An estimated 53.5% are Muslim. Islam was introduced to northeastern Nigeria in the 11th century. The Kanem-Bornu Empire extended from northeastern Nigeria up through the Sahara Desert to present-day Libya, and Islam was brought by Muslim traders via the trade routes from North Africa. It was brought to northwestern Nigeria later in the 14th to 16th centuries by traders from the Mali Empire and local traders who had been converted by Muslims in the Senegalese basin and brought Islam home with them. Islam came to the Yoruba areas in southwestern Nigeria in the 14th century, also through contact with traders from the Mali Empire. So if Nigeria is 53.5% Muslim, what religion are the rest of the people? Well, around 45.9% of the people are Christian, and 0.6% practice other religions, mainly traditional West African religions. Nigeria's constitution ensures freedom of religion. Some of the northern provinces have Sharia law alongside civil law, but it applies only to Muslims, at least officially. Number 4. Bangladesh, with around 146.4 million Muslims. Bangladesh is located in South Asia on the Bay of Bengal. It's a very densely populated country with a population of 165 million people, 88.4% of whom are Muslim. Islam was first brought to Bangladesh by Arab traders in the 9th century, mainly through the trading routes via the port city of Chattogram. But it first came under Muslim rule in the 13th century, when it was conquered by Muhammad bin Bakhtiyar Khalji of the Ghurid Empire. The majority of the population gradually converted to Islam under a number of Muslim rulers until the British took control of the Indian subcontinent in the 19th century. After the partition of India in 1947 into predominantly Hindu India and predominantly Muslim Pakistan, Bangladesh became a province of Pakistan, East Pakistan, but was separate from the rest of the country geographically. It split from Pakistan and became an independent country in 1971. Number 3. India, with around 197.3 million Muslims. This one might be a bit of a surprise because India does not have a Muslim majority. It has a Hindu majority, and only 14.2% of the population is Muslim. But India has such a huge population that it has more Muslims than most Muslim majority countries. Out of close to 1.4 billion people, over 197 million are Muslims. Islam came to the Indian subcontinent through coastal trading routes in the 7th century AD and spread further with the Ghurid conquest in the 12th century AD. All of India came under Muslim rule, just like Bangladesh did. So why does India have such a lower percentage of Muslims than Bangladesh? Well, attempts to convert the population were more successful in Bangladesh, known as Bengal at the time. Also, British India had a much higher percentage of Muslims before it was partitioned, 24.3% in the 1941 census. But with the partition, millions of Hindu refugees fled to India and millions of Muslim refugees fled to Pakistan, both east and west. That refugee crisis increased the percentage of Hindus in India and decreased the percentage of Muslims. In 1951, Muslims were 10% of the population, but that number has risen due to a higher birth rate among Muslims. Number 2. Pakistan, with around 234.4 million Muslims. The other country that arose from the partition of British India is number 2, Pakistan. It makes sense that it has a larger Muslim population than India because it was created as a state for the Muslims of the Indian subcontinent. Out of Pakistan's nearly 243 million people, around 96.5% are Muslim. Most of them are Sunni Muslims, but around 10 to 15% practice Shia Islam. As with India, Islam came to Pakistan via the coastal trading routes very early on, in the mid-7th century. Remember, they used to be the same country before the partition. It's interesting to note that if Bangladesh were still part of Pakistan today, together they would form the countries with the biggest Muslim population by far. But Bangladesh isn't a part of Pakistan anymore, so the country with the largest Muslim population is... Number 1. Indonesia, with around 240.4 million Muslims. With over 277 million people, Indonesia is the 4th most populous country in the world. According to a 2018 government survey, 86.7% of the people in Indonesia are Muslim. That's 240 million people. Of these, around 99% are Sunni. The remaining 37 million people in Indonesia are Christian, including Catholic, at 10.7% of the population, Hindu at 1.74% of the population, and a little under 1% are Buddhist. One of the points in Indonesia's foundational philosophy, Pancasila, is belief in God, but it does not specify Allah or belief in Islam. It applies to Indonesia's other religions too. The way it's written is sometimes interpreted as belief in one God, in other words, monotheism, but it's sometimes interpreted as something like the Almighty Divine, which wouldn't exclude Indonesia's Hindus and Buddhists. Some people associate Islam with the Arab world, but it's interesting to note that only 3 of the countries on the list are Arab countries: Algeria, Sudan, and Egypt. 2 others are usually considered part of the Middle East, but are not Arab: Iran and Turkey. But of the top 5 countries, all are outside the Arab world and the Middle East. Islam has been far more than just an Arabian religion for 1400 years, and is now a truly global religion. Were there any countries on the list that surprised you? Leave your answers in the comments down below. If you'd like to support this channel and to see videos 1 week early, click the join button next to the subscribe button to find out how you can become a channel member. 2 countries with Muslim majorities are Indonesia, which I mentioned in this video, and Malaysia. Check out this video, which examines the differences between the 2 countries. I guarantee you'll learn something new and interesting.